The first duty of government is to protect our rights.
It's our job to maintain the proper role of government in what we were tasked to do.
In the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 1, we have a right to life, we have a right to defend life.
This legislation is centered on meeting the needs of Idaho families.
And we have no way to maintain control over the spending of this program, and it will be a disaster for this state long term.
But we have a whole gamut of kids whose parents would like to do something for them and they cannot.
The courts have long held that our ability to transfer title on real property benefits society as a whole.
This is simply about putting it out of reach of young, innocent, vulnerable children and making our libraries and schools a safe place for them to go.
And I am increasingly frustrated that we cannot stop ourselves from drinking at the public trough.
He's sounding the alarm. He's saying if we don't address these issues, we potentially might have greater problems moving forward.
I feel like we're back to an unappointed board that gets to decide who is essential and who is non-essential.
If I was looking at a business and I was looking at these figures, there would be heads rolling because this is unsustainable.
We're supposed to be bottom-up government. We're supposed to be representing my citizens' ideas and your citizens' ideas, and we're supposed to be discussing them and debating them to come to a conclusion.
And for me, it's about a couple things. It's about food security, it's about national security, and it's about preserving American exceptionalism.
The First Amendment and our freedom of religion, freedom of speech are our first liberties. They are so important. We don't have the rest without them.
Okay, welcome everybody. It is February 20, 2024, and I am Matt Edwards. Welcome to The Signal. We are live. Currently, right now, the House is in session on the floor. They just got through passing a couple of bills, and right now they are debating House Bill 491, which is deals with sending out notices by mail or certified mail. I guess there's something in the statute that allows municipal governments to function some way, and we're trying to get them to function a different way. So it looks like Representative McCann is debating this bill. So that's what's going on in the House. We are watching a few bills today. Later in the House, the House Bill 531, which will allow parents to teach their kids to drive and have that be worthy of the state for kids to go, young drivers to go get their driver's license if they were learned how to drive by their through their parents or a legal guardian, along with using some making some supplemental materials available to families when it comes to driving. So that bill is going to be up. That was a similar bill passed and was vetoed last session by the governor, and so Representative Mendive has done a little bit of rewording and a little bit of adjustments, and so that bill will be up today. So we'll keep an eye on that one because that was fascinating. Over on the Senate side, there's a few bills that we are looking on. It looks like they are in the middle of something. I don't think they're debating a bill at the moment. I don't see. Usually, they have a bill number in the corner there to tell you what's going on. It doesn't look like they're doing that right now. But a few bills that we're paying attention to is Senate Bill 1231 will come up. This is interesting. If you're a hunter or a fisherman and you have you have some outstanding fines, this bill would make sure that you need to pay those fines before you re-up your license. So that'll be interesting to see how that comes along. The library bill, Senate Bill 1289, will be heard today, most likely, if they get to it. And then another interesting one, Senate Bill 1317, Senator Tammy Nichols has proposed a "Don't Tread on Me" license plate. A specialized license plate with the Gadsden flag on it. It's yellow. It's got the snake on it. And apparently the funds raised from people who order that particular plate will go into a fund to help children, I believe, with proper gun safety. So that'll be interesting to see how that goes. I think there's a couple of states I think that have a Gazin flag license plate. So it'll be interesting to see if Idaho passes that. So we'll keep an eye on that. I noticed Senator Lenny was debating or speaking on the floor. Maybe we can go back to the Senate real quick and listen in there.
And they never leave. That's what this memorial is doing. Our country is being invaded, and guest worker reform is not going to fix the problem. If we really want to fix this mess, if we really want to reform immigration, we need to end unrestricted birthright citizenship. We need to prioritize American workers. We need to follow our existing laws on the book, and we need to hold those responsible for hiring illegal aliens. We need to hold them responsible for enabling this crisis in the first place. Thank you, Mr. President.
Is there further debate? Hearing none.
Mr. President.
Senator Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to bring a few other thoughts into the discussion.
Okay, real quick, you keep the shot up, but real quick, this is a Senate joint memorial that is supposed to be dealing with the immigration crisis in our country. This is being brought on the Senate side. We had Dale Hawkins on last week to talk about the House version of a similar memorial that would deal with the immigration crisis. We here at this program have looked at both of these memorials and feel that the House one is much stronger and much more in line with putting Americans first. And this Senate version here creates a pathway for illegal migrants to work and take jobs away from Americans here in Idaho. So that's our spin on it. Let's listen to Senator Nichols here debate this memorial that is up for a vote right now on the Senate floor.
They'd caught that many the whole year, and those are the ones that they caught. This year, they've even gone above that. The former FBI official recently warned Congress that there is new and imminent border danger of military-aged men coming into our United States, and that we don't know where most of them are even going. I have a friend that goes down to the Darien Gap, which is over towards the Panama area, and they are seeing Chinese CCP from the Communist Party coming in droves as they make their way up through Mexico and into the United States. The other issues that are going on, besides needing labor, are so vast that it is mind-blowing. I couldn't wrap my head around all the things that I learned while I was down there. The human trafficking, the sex trafficking, the drugs, the organ harvesting. They give out pre-rape kits down in the Darien Gap to the women and to the children because they have over an 80% chance of being sexually assaulted and raped as they cross. The cartels are bringing these people in and they're getting paid a lot of money. I had cartels chasing me around on the American side while I was down there, following us around, wanting to see what we were going to do. And our guide told us that the border security wouldn't even go into the area that we were in on the United States side because they controlled it. And it was about a 14 or 15-year-old boy that had a little walkie-talkie following us around, letting the cartels know where we were going and what we were doing. I talked to the people that live there in the communities and about all the issues that they have had since this has been going on and how it's just gotten worse and worse and worse over time. I understand the need for workers. I understand that. I understand. But there has to be law. There has to be laws that are followed. Lawlessness does not create anything good. It only creates chaos and problems. And is what is transpiring. We don't only just have a border crisis, we have a humanitarian crisis that's occurring. And if we're going to go along with it, then we're part of that problem. I think this memorial is a good start. I think it does need to be stronger. It needs to send a stronger message to our government. They are supposed to be making sure that our borders are secure and safe and that things are being done in the right manner. And they're the ones that are supposed to make sure that if it's not, that they put the things in place that make it work right. We've had immigration for a long, long time. I remember, my family came over here as immigrants many, many, many years ago. But we had an Ellis Island. That's where people went. They processed everybody through there. So the problems that we have going on because of allowing people in the way that we're doing it are tenfold, much, much worse. And until we get our borders secured and until we start dealing with the issues that we have at hand in the United States, we're not going to ever fix this. And if our government's not going to do it, then our states need to exercise their sovereignty and make our government react the way that we need them to. I think that we need to have a stronger message to Congress and to our leaders. I think that if we don't, then we're just going to continue the cycle. And what do they say about going through the same thing over and over again? Well, that's the definition of insanity. And that's exactly what we have going on right now is insanity. And it's not going to get better until we take the lead and the states start standing strong, grow a backbone, and exercise their sovereignty.
There further debate?
Mr. President.
Winder.
Just quickly, I've heard a lot of the issues brought up about this, but I'd also point out on page 2, beginning in line 11, reading down through that section, it recognizes the very concerns that have been voiced on the floor this morning. It talks about we need a good national security program. We need good detection. We need good technology. We need good law enforcement. Prevent those people from unlawfully entering the United States.
Okay, we have been dipping into the Senate there as they discuss Senate Joint Memorial number 2, I believe, SJM 2. This deals with immigration. As Representative Hawkins told us last week, the memorial, which is different than a resolution, he corrected me on it, a memorial directs our congressional delegation, our Washington, D.C. delegation, our 2 senators and 2 congressmen, to do something. It basically instructs them to do something about a particular issue, and in this case, it's immigration. So we'll keep tabs on this. We won't listen to much of the debate. We got a lot on deck for today that we want to get to, but hopefully we can pay attention to the vote, and we'll let you know how that rolls. If this passes, it has to go to the House and get affirmed there as well. So, and of course, they have their version over there that they're going to maybe pass and send to the Senate. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so what do we have on tap today? Well, yesterday, and we went into this. We've gone into this a while. We had Attorney Kate Hartley on talking about House Bill 517, and yesterday was an extensive hearing of this bill, and we have a lot of clips to get to. And so we will get to those and set this up properly for you, because this is an extremely important bill. And what we've told you before, the reason why it's so important is it is directly affects how our government treats us as citizens that have inalienable rights. The government exists to protect our rights. It does not exist to infringe upon our rights or to find ways around our rights so that they can rule and do whatever they want. And the government is made up of us. It's made up of people. And there's some people that think that their role is to control everybody. And then there are those that go in and realize that, no, we're here to make sure that people can just live their lives without government intrusion. And so 517 is a Idaho solution to Idaho problems. You hear that a lot down on these floors, an Idaho solution for an Idaho problem. This is exactly that. It is a protection of the Idaho Constitution, the Idaho Declaration of Rights. So we are going to get into that. We're going to take a quick break. We will get into that, show you these clips. We have Senator Ben Taves, who is sponsoring the bill, who will hopefully join us after the Senate adjourns. for the day. And we also have Representative Joe Alfieri, who has also said he would join us after the House adjourns for the day. Both of these folks were in the committee yesterday, and we have clips from both of them and the others. So we will be right back. Stick with us.
Surplus, which is not a surplus, it's an overcharging of the taxpayers.
Idaho is a conservative state. That's why leftist billionaires and woke progressives are pushing the ranked choice runoff scheme. Their goal, a radical anti-gun equity agenda. Repeal stand your ground and constitutional carry and pass red flag gun confiscation. This is about taking our guns, destroying our freedom, radicalizing Idaho and changing our state forever. Stop them before it's too late. Open primaries and ranked choice voting will destroy Idaho. Don't let leftist billionaires turn our state into California.
There's a saying in Idaho, Esto perpetua. It is forever. But the truth is, nothing lasts forever. Not without a fight. The Gem State is ours to fight for. It is ours to win. For life and liberty, for honesty and integrity. We ride together.
Okay, welcome back. Yesterday in committee, House Bill 517, which deals with free speech and freedom to exercise your religion, religious freedom, was before the committee. And I want to read to you real quickly. This is our Idaho version of the Pocket Constitution. This contains the Idaho Declaration of Rights as well as the United States Constitution. And this is exclusive to Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We are the ones who created this. And if you haven't gotten your copy, you can get one soon. We're doing a second printing. Our first printing is out there, but we'll do a second printing and share more details about this. But the Declaration of Rights is in this, and the Idaho Declaration of Rights, which is Article 1, Section 9. Article 1, Section 9 is titled Freedom of Speech, and I'm going to read it to you because it's rather short. Every person may freely speak, write, and publish on all subjects, being responsible for the abuse of that liberty. So it is clear here. Every person may freely speak, write, and publish on all subjects. And so when you have a situation like we did in Kellogg at the end of the school year last year, where a high school student during an assembly said, boys are boys, girls are girls, there's nothing in between. And then the school district, which is the state, came down and said, you are not allowed to walk in graduation. Then, after the controversy exploded, his employer that he had set up, which he was going to go be a firefighter with one of the fire services, they reneged their offer. They took back their offer of employment. During a rally held in his defense, on one of the final school days of the year, during a rally, an off-duty school bus driver, beloved by the students, but he was off-duty that day. He showed up with an American flag to support Travis, and he was summarily fired from his job for showing up with an American flag and supporting Travis's free speech rights. So that was the impetus. That's what set up this course, because he is now suing for violating they're both suing for violating their freedom of speech rights in federal court. They would have done it in Idaho, in an Idaho court, and had a much better chance of it moving through the system and finding recourse within Idaho, and because his rights were violated in the Idaho Constitution, both of them. But there is no avenue for you as a citizen to sue the state of Idaho unless you go to federal court, or you to sue your school board or your school district or whatever it is for violating your rights. And violating your rights is a big deal. You know, you'll hear some of these folks, use excuses like, oh, but we don't want to bankrupt the state. We don't want to bankrupt the school district. We'll get into that. But this is a big deal. These are our rights. And when you hire people in positions of power within government who feel like your rights don't matter, that is a big deal. So that is what sets up House Bill 517 here. That's what brought it to the attention of Senator Taves and his co-sponsor on the House side, which I believe is... there's so many folks now. It might be Jason Gallagher. I'm trying to... Bruce Skog. That's right. Thank you guys. Representative Bruce Skog, a lawyer in his own right, who is helped present the bill in the Judiciary and Rules Committee yesterday. Okay, enough of the setup. Let's get right to it because we got a lot of clips. This first clip is Senator Taves giving us just a bit of the introduction of this bill. So just out of his words and where we're setting it up today, let's listen to this clip from yesterday.
The bill, House Bill 517 that you have before you, it provides a private right of action for individuals to seek civil damages in state court against state and local government actors who violate their religious liberty or free speech rights as provided under the Idaho Constitution. Although the Idaho Constitution clearly provides citizens the guarantee of religious liberty and the freedom of speech, there is currently no mechanism to enforce these rights. Thus, an individual whose religious and or free speech rights have been infringed by a government actor within Idaho is limited to seeking redress in federal court for violations of the federal Constitution, leaving the violations of the state constitution to go unaddressed. In other words, the Idaho Constitution provides a right, but Idaho statutes do not provide a remedy, and this bill corrects this oversight.
Okay, great, perfect. Much more succinct than I just took in the 3 or 4 minutes that I took to set up the bill. So that is what the bill is designed to do. For some reason or another, folks, there were a few folks that came in to testify opposing the bill, and they looked at a bill that does exactly what that is, allows people whose rights have been violated to seek recourse against the government. Somehow, some people thought that meant that the employees of government can infringe upon the rights of other groups of people. I don't know how they got that message or what they're reading into it, but let's listen to one of the public commenters address this issue.
Against this bill and any bill that enables public employees to blur the line between church and state and allows them to promote their religious beliefs in the course of their providing services, especially when the public really has no other avenue to access those services. In rural communities, it is often a small government office with very few employees servicing vast districts, and a single employee could create such a contentious environment for LGBTQ community that they would be unable to access services effectively. Any person going to the DMV, to a county permit office, to public school could be subjected to others' religious beliefs. My child, a member of the LGBTQ community, could be subjected to hurtful negliging from school administrators and teachers and other students on a daily basis when she attends school just for being herself. As a parent, I would have little recourse because this bill trumps local non-discrimination laws, and my tax dollars would be used to defend the beliefs and speech of I find repugnant. I urge you to not pass this bill. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
I'm mystified. I mean, if you understand the bill, and we've done a lot to set up what this bill does. This argument that this will somehow empower people that have religious views that she finds offensive, that will empower them to violate the rights of citizens the bill literally does the opposite. It protects LGBTQ plus or minus divided by multiplication. It protects them from having an employee from the government infringe upon their rights. This bill sees no ideology. It sees no color. It sees no orientation. It sees no mental illness. It sees none of that. All it does is protect the rights of citizens against government infringement. And so whatever she's been told about this bill is completely wrong. I feel like she got an email from somebody or a text or a communication went out and said this bill will allow people to infringe upon the rights of the alphabet people. I don't understand. I don't understand how that happened. But maybe it came from the ACLU, because the ACLU in Idaho showed up and gave their public comment. And we'll play that clip here for you a second, but let me set it up. What she is going to be pointing out is there is a part of the Idaho statute called the Free Exercise of Religion Protection Act, FERPA, FERPA. So you might hear that term FERPA come up. And it's the Free Exercise of Religion Protection Act, and this was passed a couple of decades ago. It's in our statute, and it offers it says that people, when your religious freedom is infringed upon, that there may be a course for you to bring that up during a legal proceeding. It's a very short statute. It's not 3 or 4 pages long, but it does exist, and we'll get into that. So this is the ACLU kind of leaning into the religious aspect of this, much like the previous public commenter. So let's watch her comment.
Going to go to current Idaho Code 73-402, which states under Section 4, a person whose religious exercise is burdened in violation of this section may assert that violation as a claim or defense in a judicial proceeding and obtain appropriate relief against the government. So with that, I contest the categorization of this bill as as addressing a gap in enforcement mechanism. There is already an enforcement mechanism that exists in statute that can be accessed by anyone who feels the government has violated their freedom of religion.
Okay, so once again, she's sitting on a freedom of religion. This bill deals with freedom of speech as well. It's the First Amendment. The First Amendment guarantees the right of freedom of speech. It guarantees the right of expression of religion or your religious belief, along with a redress of your grievances, which this is allowing that path to do, and peaceful assembly, which I'm sure could be amended to include that as well. But this is an all-encompassing First Amendment protection bill. Okay. So to address this point about FERPA, later on in the hearing, and we're going to jump back and forth, we're not going to go chronologically through the hearing. We want to map this out so that you understand what's going on here, is Representative Julian Young wanted to address this code that already existed. And so she does this in this next clip.
Referring again to the FERPA, and I see in that statute the language in sub 4, a person whose religious exercise is burdened in violation of this section may assert that violation as a claim or defense in a judicial proceeding.
Can you repeat the page again?
Pardon me, I'm looking at 73-402, which is our free exercise of religion.
Okay.
It's existing statute. We've been told that this statute enables individuals already to bring suits in state court. It doesn't say that explicitly. And we are being told at the same time that individuals who clearly had a case were unable to seek redress in state court. Can somebody help me sort out these contradictory claims?
Representative Scott, could you do that, or?
At the request of the Vice Chair and Madam Young, yes, this is to make our freedom of speech and our freedom of religion as Idahoans self-executing from our execution. That does not exist now, even with that code that you've mentioned. This makes it possible so that an attorney who looks at this can say to that young man or somebody else in an example, yes, I can bring this suit for you. That's the crux of this. Makes it easier.
There we go. So there you have it. The bill, the statute that's already there for religious freedom only is very vague, limiting. This bill enhances everything, and it creates a much cleaner, easier path, which is what we want as citizens, an easier path to take on the government when they do something that they are absolutely not allowed to do. It violates our inalienable rights. We are the people. We are the ones who construct our government. And so we elect people like them, like Representative Bruce Skog, like Senator Ben Taves, like Representative Julian Young, like Representative Barbara Ehart, who know when they come into office that their primary job is to protect the rights of citizens. In our opening montage, Representative Tony Wisniewski says the very same thing. That is the proper role of government, protect citizens. Okay. That being said, this bill has morphed in the Democrats' minds into something that is completely off the rails. Completely off the rails. And they do this to confuse you, to obfuscate you, to cause doubt in the minds of those who aren't really paying attention and may vote their way. And so when we come back, we're going to take a quick break, very short. When we come back, we're going to show you Representative John Gannon, our favorite. This guy's on almost every committee, and it's funny because the Democrats are have to be on a lot of committees because there's so very few of them. But Representative Gannon offers up a hypothetical to Representative Skog that is going to blow your mind away in relation to what this bill is seeking to do. So we will take a quick break, and we will come back with that clip.
Surplus, which is not a surplus, it's an overcharging of the taxpayers.
All Idaho lawmakers swear an oath to support the Idaho and U.S. constitutions. But how's that working out for you? Because not all Idaho lawmakers share the same values. That's where the Citizens Alliance of Idaho pledge comes in. 10 statements inspired by those two founding documents that are designed to preserve our shared values. Values such as education freedom, safeguarding free speech, defending our protected right to self-defense, and being responsible stewards of taxpayer dollars. When a lawmaker signs the pledge, they are performing an act of political courage, accepting the challenge to be a champion for our values, and serving with political integrity. To find out if your lawmaker signed the pledge, visit idahopledge.com. Paid for by Citizens Alliance of Idaho. We ride together.
Okay, welcome back. We have been discussing House Bill 517, a very important individual rights bill. This will protect your rights when the government decides to infringe upon, in specific categories, your freedom of speech, your First Amendment rights. Okay, and we've been watching some clips here. As we went to break, we were setting up this clip with John Gannon, who had a very interesting hypothetical that sort of like moves us off of target of what this bill is intended to do, which is allow a path for you to sue the government should your free speech rights be violated, your First Amendment rights. So we're going to cut to that clip. A real quick update. The House did adjourn, so we hopefully expect, barring any other meetings that might pop up, Representative Joe Alfieri to join us because he is in this hearing that we're talking about. We have a great clip from him that we're going to get to, but if Joe comes on to the show and delivers the fire that he delivered yesterday, we may not need the clip. We'll have our own clip. But let's go to Representative John Gannon here and listen to his hypothetical.
Chairman, another question relating to the scope of employment. Okay, so you have a paramedic who is off duty, not working, not being paid, and commits an act that could be a violation of the religion parameters in this bill. So does that mean that then that paramedic would not be covered and should not have used his efforts or her efforts to provide the services? Same with a police officer, off-duty police officer.
Representative Skog.
Madam Chairman, Representative Gannon, in that situation, it would not apply. They're outside their course and their scope of the employment, so there would be no government entity to sue. Part of the defense would be, this isn't us, government entity, so no lawsuit under this code. The off-duty police officer or the off-duty paramedic.
Follow-up?
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chairman, and Representative Skog or whomever. Okay, so an off-duty police officer sees a petty theft or a crime or some kind of crime being committed. Are you saying then that what the officer does when he's not working would not be covered by the protections afforded to a government employee?
Representative Skog.
Madam Chairman, Representative Gannon, we're getting out in unicorn land. This is about freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and so I don't see how that would apply at all here for this any potential lawsuit.
I can give an example.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and Representative Skog. So a child is writhing in pain because they've got a broken leg. The off-duty paramedic officer or other civil servant sees the situation, takes the child to the hospital, says, hey, we got to get this fixed. The parents believe in faith healing. And so they say, hey, wait a minute, you had no right to do that, violates our religion. You've taken this child to the hospital, and we're going to sue you.
Would you like to respond, Representative
Madam
Skog?
Chairman, thank you. Representative Gannon, again, that's far beyond the scope of this bill. If there's the Good Samaritan laws that would probably be in play in that situation, but this is about freedom of speech, freedom of religion. And I understand your concern on that, and I share some of those concerns, but that doesn't apply to what we're talking about here.
Okay. I think I know why Representative Gannon is going down this road here, but his ability to master and think up these scenarios. The guys were saying that it reminds them of a old Hollywood pitchman who's like, I got a great idea for a story. But I think that there's this. I think what Representative Gannon is saying is like he wants protection for an off-duty cop who may violate someone's religious freedom. To have the government protect him, because otherwise he's at risk of being sued himself. But I don't know if you caught this, but somebody had said it under their breath. There's the Good Samaritan laws, which is where if you're acting as a good Samaritan in good faith to try and help somebody, you're not going to get sued or you have a defense at least should you have done something that may have violated someone's rights. Once again, though, this is all about the government infringing upon your rights, not as citizens. I mean, I can tell you to shut up all day long if I wanted to, but I'm not the government. And I'm not acting in a governmental capacity. If a off-duty cop is in a bar and tells somebody to stop talking, to stop saying what he's saying, is he infringing on their rights because he's off-duty, because he works for the government? I hardly think so. And that's exactly what these people want to do up here is distract, deflect you, and get you off target. We're talking about what happened to that kid in Kellogg and what happens across this country when people speak out and the government takes retribution against them. Okay, so that was I think Representative Skog handled that really well. But you need to hear these arguments. You need to hear what they think and how to approach it, because if we're going to be involved, if we're asking you, we're telling everybody, let's be involved in the process, you need to understand what the other people think. And I don't know how many people have shined such a huge light on what goes on in committee, like we've done on this show, or like others have started to do over the past several years since COVID. But this is exactly what we need to do is highlight this stuff. Okay. Another thing that's very insulting is when you have people in government that assume that we're all bad actors, that people are just going to take advantage of every situation possible. Are there bad actors in the world? Yes. Will we be able to stop all of them? Absolutely not. But we can catch them if they're doing it. right? We can catch them if they're doing it. And there are protections in place that can stop them if they try to do something nefarious against the government, okay? But stopping a really great law is because you might think that someone may bring a lawsuit against the state because they are just looking for some money is ridiculous, because it takes a lot to hire a lawyer and go through the process to get $20,000 out of the government, which is what this bill is, the maximum penalty that this bill would award somebody. But that doesn't stop folks like Representative Kenny Roten and newly sat Democrat Representative Todd Achilles from making these disparaging remarks about Idahoans. So let's roll this Kenny Roten clip here.
So is this going to create a situation where now citizens may be able to use the government as a ATM if every time they hear the Pledge of Allegiance that under God, their religious freedoms are being, infringed upon? Yeah. Let's start there.
If I may, Madam Chairman, Representative Roten, no. I want to back up to the example that I gave to the committee at the beginning of this. These young men had no recourse in the state for any action. They did not essentially have recourse with the federal government because it was so cost prohibitive. So this allows them to have an action when their freedom of religion or freedom of speech is really violated, and it was. They were punished wrongly. They had no action. The attorneys couldn't get anything done. So this allows an action that we all expect that we would have as a matter of right if we were violated by a government entity as far as our freedom of speech or freedom of religion. This allows that action to take place, and actually it's pretty limiting with the $20,000 non-economic damages. If I'd written it, I would have made it higher. So I hope that helps. This allows men or women in that situation to have a cause of action regardless of their background or what they're talking about, and they're hammered down because of their religious speech or their freedom of speech. I hope that helps, Representative Roten.
First off, Representative Bruce Scott is exactly right. This fine should be way greater than $20,000. But Representative Achilles had a similar talking point. In fact, it was the exact same talking point. So that may tell you something. But here's what Representative Achilles had to say.
Senator Tays, agree with you 100%. This is about ensuring the rights of every Idaho citizen for freedom of religion and freedom of speech. Absolutely zero disagreement there. I am concerned, though, that this has the potential to, frankly, be an ATM for bad actors, and using that $20,000 cap and I think some fairly broad terms or broad tests around this to put particularly smaller jurisdictions at risk. School boards and others that don't have the resources, that have a lot of interaction between the officials and the public. And I am very concerned that could be a point of exposure for these smaller governmental organizations, and again, an ATM for bad actors.
Okay, once again, this insulting language that Idahoans are just going to go out and sue the government because they want a quick 20 grand, as if it's as easy as going to the ATM. It's absolutely ridiculous. And by the way, this thing that we think this will hurt the smaller agencies, the school districts and the health district or whatever. Well, those are the ones that usually are the ones that are doing this. It's not the legislature. The legislature isn't passing a law that says you can't against free speech. They may flirt with the idea every now and again. But the ones that actually have recourse against your life, like Travis's life in Kellogg, that said you can't walk across graduation, and then he gets fired from his job as a firefighter, and all he gets is $20,000. He should be getting $1 million. They ruined his life. He just graduated high school. What's he going to do? Go apply for an $8,000 grant to go be a welder? Nothing wrong with welding. But he wanted to go be a firefighter, and he had a job already lined up. And because he said something that offended somebody, his life, he's got to set a new course. And it's all because the government did it. Not because Not because a private citizen did it, but because the government said, no, you can't do this. And the same thing with the bus driver. You're fired for supporting that guy. He didn't even do anything. All he did was show up with a flag at a rally. And because his presence was there, they fired him. And he lost. And and if this law were to pass, he would only get $20,000. I hope they sue for $1 million. This is offensive. And people like this that are sitting up in your legislature, they're making these poor excuses, absolutely atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. It's so offensive. So you want to talk about being offended? I'm offended. That's offensive. And who elected these people? Kenny Roten, District 13, Nampa? Come on, folks. Get it together. Get it together. Find someone who's going to stand up for your rights. And Todd Achilles was just elected in a Democrat district. So Democrats, once again, you got this guy. What are you going to do about it? Infringing upon your rights. It's all going to circle back to you. Okay, we are nearing it. We are nearing the end of these clips here. I hope you're getting the point. Mark Sauter, Representative Mark Sauter out of District 1. Interesting thing here, because he comes in saying that he was actually for this bill. He sat down thinking, this is a good bill, protecting our free speech rights. And then he hears all of the stuff that we've been playing for you and more. There's been a lot more. This was a long hearing. And after that, there was a motion in the committee to send the bill to the floor and have it move on. But Sauter, after hearing this, he decided he wanted to offer a second motion. So let's listen to Representative Sauter out of District 1.
I read this and thought it was pretty simple, and I'll even say a little bit on, it was narrowed down. After all the presentation, speakers, and dialogue, I don't feel that way. I'd make a substitute motion that we hold this my preference right now would be that that I would vote against this. I'm open to the idea of delaying this for a couple of weeks and holding it with the chair so we can all do a little more research. But for right now, I'm a no. So I'll just make the motion that we hold this for 2 weeks with the chair.
Okay. All right. So there's the motion.
At that point,
there's the motion. It ended up failing, and the bill moved on. We do have a couple more clips that we want to show, but Senator Ben Taves is with us. Senator Taves, thank you for joining us. This is your bill. You brought it before us. How did you think the hearing went yesterday? We've been going through some of these strange arguments against this bill. What has been your reaction to this, sir?
Thanks, Matt, for having me on. I was totally blindsided by some of these questions. It's such a simple issue, honestly. What all of us were sent down here to do, which is protect the rights of the citizens who elected us to office. So it totally caught me off guard. I was like, I didn't even know what to think part of the time, because they were coming at me from the strangest angles that often it was clear that they hadn't even read the bill. Not the guys up front there. It seemed like they had, but the testimony, somebody must have sent out an email to a bunch of people that said, go testify against this, without telling them why. And so they just came and babbled about something that didn't have anything to do with the bill. Often the bill did the exact opposite of what they would talk about. And it actually protects your right to free speech. And they were saying somehow it was infringing on their free speech. So an obvious misunderstanding. What I really didn't get a chance to say during the hearing that I wanted to say was that there is a cost. There is a very real cost to someone, and the whole idea of an ATM. There's a cost to hire an attorney. There's a cost in your time and your energy to pursue any of this. I don't think that we don't see people doing that, like going after and just trying to make money off of this, because there's a very real risk that you're going to lose the attorney's fees and you're going to lose your time and energy if what you're fighting for is found to be frivolous or or you're not able to prevail. So I think that's just a ridiculous argument. And I wished I'd gotten a chance to say that in the hearing.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to have you on, so that way we can get that message out there, because this is a very important bill, and what you brought here and the arguments that were being made. I think you've got a great partner there with Representative Bruce Skog on the House side for this, and hopefully when he brings it to the floor, because this did pass out of committee, so it'll be headed to the floor, and if it does get a vote. That he will have enough from this hearing to address those concerns and really keep it on point. I know you. I know I don't want to hold you too long. I know you got to go get some lunch before your next business here. But any last minute words on this? On any support? We're going to rally people to contact their representatives and make sure they vote on this. But any last actions here?
Yeah, just the whole thing is this legislation is about protecting individuals' rights, and it's very disappointing when we see people looking at how to protect the government or protect the system. And honestly, it's mind-boggling to me to think of things that way. It's just not the way I think at all. And it's really concerning to me that there are people that are looking here like, how do we protect the system? How do we protect the government? And I'm like, it's citizens who need protecting. All the cards are stacked in the government's favor. Citizens actually standing up and speaking, using their freedom of speech and then defending it if it's infringed upon, that takes a lot of courage. And so, yeah, I see the same thing in other areas. I see people arguing I'm bringing legislation to protect kids, and I'll have people argue well, what about protecting the school system, or what about protecting this system or that system? I'm like, sorry, we really we know who we're sent here to represent. We're here to represent the citizens that elected us to office, and the system protects itself plenty well. That's not our role.
Absolutely. God bless you, Senator Taves. You're doing some great work, and we wish you the best. Where can people follow you if they want to keep in touch?
You can go under Ben for Idaho on Substack to get my newsletter. So Ben, the number 4 Idaho, and then my website's benforidaho.com. Same thing, and on Facebook as well.
Fantastic. All right, Senator Taves, thank you so much for joining us. We'll circle back when this thing gets a vote.
Thank you. Sounds good.
All right. Take care. All right. We also have Representative Joe Alfieri with us. We have a great clip from him from yesterday. He really was able to just take the committee and center it back to where this bill really needs to be. And so I'm happy that he joins us today. Representative Alfieri, this bill on this First Amendment and the case that spawned the impetus for this bill, you really brought it home yesterday. Welcome to the program. What's your perspective about what went down yesterday with this bill?
Thanks, Matt. Good to talk to you again. Well, first thing I'll say is Senator Taves is a tough act to follow. Ben does such great work, and is a fantastic representative of the people. I'm so happy that we have him as our senator in Coeur d'Alene. The perspective on the bill was that there was so many attempts to scuttle what was going on and to try to get us to argue about peripheral topics rather than the central topic. And the central topic was what the state is supposed to do, the reason why we created a state, why we created a country, which is to protect our freedoms. And what happened in Kellogg with that student was an egregious example of the state overstepping its bounds and impinging on the right of free speech. And what they did was horrible. And we needed a method to redress that grievance. And Ben brought it. Simple as that. So I was increasingly frustrated as I listened to the testimony yesterday when people were talking about, oh, we're going to have all these costs from the state because we're going to have these frivolous lawsuits, and we have religious freedom issues and all this, and it had nothing to do with what was going on. I don't know. I haven't looked at the clip yet, but I felt that I had steam coming out of my ears because that's how frustrated I was. But I don't know what it looks like. So
no, you were very poised. You were very poised and on message and on point. It was very articulate, very well done.
Oh, great. Thank you.
But this notion, especially with the idea that people said that this bill would empower, religious zealots to infringe upon the rights of LGBT people. Do you see that anywhere in this bill, that this would empower, even in some, like, if you had to put yourself in the shoe of a lefty, like how you could say that this bill does that?
I didn't see how it did that at all, and I didn't see. And you talk about going in the shoes of the other person, and that's what this was about. I respect your right to say whatever you want to say. I don't care, as long as you don't yell fire in a crowded theater. And I hope that you do the same for me. If we disagree, that's fine. But the state should not be restricted, and in this case, it was the local schools that did it. The state should not be restricting the rights of people to express their opinion. As simple as that. And I don't know why these peripheral issues came in. I couldn't read anywhere in the proposed legislation that we had anything to do with religious rights. Or restricting LGBTQ communities from doing anything. In fact, I would make the argument that the LGBT community would have the same rights that everybody else does. I don't see why not. I mean, that's what we're about. I may not agree with you, but you can say and do whatever you like as long as you don't harm somebody else.
Right.
I don't
exactly.
know.
Yeah. All right. Well, I mean, do you think you might find yourself standing up on the House floor to debate? I don't want you to commit to that, but should that happen, what do you think is going to be the debate on the House floor?
I think we'll see the same debate on the House floor, and I think one of the tactics that the left is using is to talk about the cost of this issue, and I believe that it is an attempt to reach out to fiscal conservatives like myself and say, well, you can't do this because it's going to cost too much money.
But
the cost is a secondary issue. We have to be good shepherds of the people's money. But the essential thing is to protect our rights and our freedoms. And that's what this does. So,
absolutely.
If I have to stand up on the House floor and go and do what I did in committee, I'll do it again.
Fantastic. Good to hear that. Okay. All right. Well, Joe, thank you for coming on to talk about this topic. What else are you working on? We played a clip from you last week of your daylight savings time abolishment bill, which I don't think anybody would be unopposed to, even the farmers, because you pointed out that we have electricity now. So
yes.
But what else are you working on? What else is on your docket?
Well, I'll tell you what I have in my hands right now, which is an RS that's I just completed, just delivered to me, and that is relating to elections. And what it does is it sets forth that you must be, guess what, a citizen of the United States and a citizen of the state of Idaho to vote in our elections. What a concept!
What a concept! You mean that's not already in statute? What are we fixing here?
It's kind of in statute, but one of the things that we're seeing across the country is a movement to have people who are not citizens vote in local elections. So we want to sort of head that off here.
Right.
I know New Hampshire, California, New York, some other states have actually allowed non-citizens to vote. And our language in our Constitution, our Idaho Constitution, was identical to what was in place in other states. And those courts in those states have ruled that based on that language, non-citizens can vote. So we've tightened up the language here, and I'm going to deliver this to State Affairs this afternoon, and hopefully we can get this on the calendar in the next few days.
Fantastic. Great to hear that. All right. Well, we will pay attention to that because that's a very important issue. And I know you're at the forefront of election integrity too. So we're always watching that stuff. All right. Representative Alfieri, where can people follow you? How can they support you?
You can find me on joeforidaho.com, my website, Joe for Idaho, also on Facebook and on X and Instagram.
Fantastic.
And always contact me here in the legislature if you have questions about anything I'm doing. Please reach out to me, send me an email, or call me on the phone and yell at me if you disagree. That's fine.
Sounds good. All right. Yeah, you have a long career in customer service too, so you know how to take the hits. All right, Representative Alfieri, thank you so much. God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye now.
Take care. All right, folks. Well, we were able to squeeze them in at the last minute. We got some clips that we'll get to tomorrow, perhaps, or later this week. There were some really good fiery clips. I really want to share them with you, so we will get to that. But thank you so much for joining us. We are getting into bonus time here, but IdahoSignal.com is where you can find us if you want to support the show. So you can send off a financial contribution. You can send off a word of good message, some feedback. You can yell at us too. I have a long career in customer service as well, and maybe someday we'll get into that. But I've heard it all. I've got a thick skin, but I also take good criticism. So if you've got some good criticism, send it along. Send it along over to us. We're happy to do so. Thank you for joining us, and we will be back tomorrow with more on the Signal, equalizing the narrative. Send us some good new taglines too. We got some surprises coming up for you too. So. Please make sure you share and stick around. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.
This bill, I think, it puts a stake in the ground that says we have a sovereign right to protect what's ours.